From Washington, D.C. to the heart of America, welcome to Mark Alford's America. I'm freshman Congressman from Missouri, Mark Alford, and I believe in America. I believe in you, and most importantly, I believe that our greatest days are ahead. You know, each week we take you behind the scenes to share the stories, the news, legislation, and most of all to meet the great people who are helping shape our great nation. And one of those is my friend, lawmaker Tim Walberg. Tim currently serves his 8th term in Congress as a rep from southern Michigan. Before this, in public office, Tim was a pastor in Michigan and Indiana as president of the Warren Ruther Center for Education and Community Impact and a division manager from Moody Bible Institute. He also served in the Michigan State House of Reps for more than 15 years. Right now, Tim serves on the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the House Education and Workforce Committee. He's also a good friend of mine, new friend, but good friend, I think, already, Mr. Tim Walberg. Tim, good to have you with us.
Mark, it's good to be with you and with a guy who knows how to talk on the air.
Well, I don't have a teleprompter anymore, so not that I ever followed it to begin with. But Tim and I met, I guess it was in your office, one of the first weeks I was here. Vicki Hartzler, my predecessor, said, you got to check out this Bible study that I used to be in. And it was in your office. And I think people ask me, what's the most surprising thing so far as a freshman member of Congress? And I tell them, I think how many strong Christians there are up here, how God is moving in Washington, D.C.
There really are. And I think that does surprise people because they read about the swamp. They hear about all the fights that go on. And they don't stop to think that good stuff doesn't sell too much. And unless you and I mess up as Christians, it's not noteworthy. And so I think it's good when we have a chance to go back and talk to our constituents and say, you know, we prayed for the district this week, or met with another member who's going through a real challenging time, and we prayed together. We support the families together. Those are good times that most of the public don't know about. There are probably Bible studies going on every day of the week here, small groups. There are
bipartisan.
Not in every case, but bipartisan. There's a Thursday prayer breakfast, bipartisan congressional prayer breakfast that meets for the past 80 years. It was really the foundation for the National Prayer Breakfast when Dwight Eisenhower saw what was going on in the Senate every Wednesday and the House every Thursday, and he said, I need something like that. And so the National Prayer Breakfast was founded to bring Congress together and to pray for our president and pray for ourselves. And it's continued on now for 71 years. This last year was the 71st year of the National Prayer Breakfast, and I had the privilege of being the chairperson of that. Those things go on here. Mark, you found out already that a member of Congress is no different than the people they represent. They have their families, they have their challenges, they have their sicknesses. We've had members last week that had heart bypass.
Yeah.
All of a sudden comes up, and you got to deal with it. We have members right now whose I think of one right now. His child is dying from cancer.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't there be things like this that go on to support each other? We're just glad you're here because you're a great voice, a great member.
Thank you.
You're not afraid to step up, and you're not afraid to be known as a believer in Jesus.
Well, I've never told anybody this, but I made it a point, my wife knows it, when I decided to get into this race almost 2 years ago, I made a promise to God that I was going to put him first. This wasn't about me. It's about the voters, and it's about doing his will, and that in every speech that I did, I was going to mention him and not be ashamed of the gospel of Christ. And, it's really odd. When I gave up my TV career and put it all on the line and got it, it was scary. And it was like God pushed me out this window and told me to fly. And I've never done anything like that. And he has rewarded me and Leslie big time by giving me this honor to be here with folks like you to try to make changes for our country, because our country is so precious. And I don't know if we stop enough and just take account of how much God's given us, His protection and providence? And we all need to be fighting for our country, don't we?
And how gracious He's been.
Yeah.
As we've, in many ways, Mark, we've walked away from His blessing, and we've kind of gone our own way, and that's where guys like us and your predecessor, Vicky Hartzler, this is our place. This is our mission field, as it were, as much as, my daughter who's a missionary in Uganda. This is our mission field, and while America was set as a place that offered religious freedom, to be religious, to be evangelical, to be Catholic, to be Jewish, or to be nothing at all, this country allowed that to happen. And yet it was founded on principles that God designed. Number one, freedom, and the opportunity to do the best for your life and for others. And that's where we find ourselves. And that's what's so neat, to be involved with men like you and others who have a passion for what they do, have stepped up and done something that you wouldn't necessarily done it on your own. Someone once said that when you're put in a place that you can't do it and God has to, that's exactly where He can use you.
Yeah. Boy, that's deep. There's some people listening right now who are thinking, these two religious nuts, don't they know there's separation of church and state? I hear that all the time on Facebook. I get railed all the time. And I tell people, look, we are not forcing anyone to join a religion. We're not creating a religion. We are not creating a church state. What do you say to folks who think that, number one, congressmen and women and senators should not be talking about religion? Maybe we shouldn't be having Bible studies in our office or the Ag Committee room or in the halls of Congress.
We shouldn't be human beings with beliefs and values and needs like anybody else. I would say that's absurd. And the First Amendment makes it very clear. It's not that religion shouldn't be involved in politics, but rather the government shouldn't establish religion. That's the key. If I'm a Christian and I express who I am with my faith and with my political positions and my philosophy about why Harley Davidson is better than a Honda, though I like Hondas too, so that's a bad illustration.
We just lost 20 listeners, right? No, that's all right.
Yeah. I've got Hondas and Harleys at home. But if I can't express who I am, then what am my constituents? How do they know who I really am? Now, if they know that I'm a Christian, and I'm not going to shy away from that, I'm not going to pull somebody in, and I'm not going to vote in a new religion, they can put me out of office if they don't like that, or they can say, you know what? His faith may make him a more trustworthy member of Congress. I may not agree with him on every point, but at least I know he'll be honest with me. So, no, I think we need to push back against that. Here in this country, you can be religious or you can choose not to be religious. We're free. You can be an atheist, or you can be a believer in God and in Jesus Christ as we are. You can be a Jew and believe in the nation of Israel. We're going to celebrate that tomorrow with the president of Israel going to be here and speak. 75 years since it was reestablished as a nation. That's cool. And for those of us that are Christians and understand the Judeo-Christian ethic that was put into our governmental system from the very beginning, it's even more special. But that isn't establishing religion. It's saying there's a place for it. And if you don't like it and don't want a place for religion, you have that freedom too.
You've seen a lot of people come and go from this office, including my predecessor, Vicky Hartzler. What do you think what brings you back? What keeps you running for office? Because you were here originally, then you lost, right?
Right.
And then you came back and ran again. What makes you want to be a congressman?
Well, it's one day at a time, and you have to feel a calling. I think every one of us here has to feel a calling, whether it's a calling from a group of constituents, whether it's a calling from a gut urge to have a title behind your name. And there are some here like that. I'm certain of that. Or if it's a calling that I think you and I both have, we feel God has developed us in such a way that at a point in time he thought this is where Mark and Tim could serve me and their constituents in a way that makes sense. And so the day that I lose that, the day that I sense it's time to move on, the day that I don't get goosebumps when I look at the Capitol as I'm walking into it and walk on the floor of the House or in the statuary hall where Abraham Lincoln sat and John Quincy Adams and think, what in the world am I doing here? And have a passion about issues. The passion that got me from the pastorate and into politics in the state legislature was the issue of life.
Save that because we're going to talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Mark Alford. Well, welcome back, everyone, to Mark Alford's America, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look at Washington and let you meet some of the great folks helping shape our fabulous nation. Tim Walberg is the congressman representing Michigan's 5th District. Tim, I've never been to Michigan. I think I need to come visit. What's it like?
Well, you haven't been to heaven yet either. Come to Michigan to get a taste of it.
Really?
Pure Michigan. I mean, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so I can be a little bit unguarded about my love of Michigan. But I used to go across from the south side of Chicago to the southern part of Michigan, on Lake Michigan, the dunes, sand dunes, and just enjoy my time there. It's Michigan, as compared to Chicago, was green with the grass and the trees and everything growing there and the beautiful blue of the water, pure Michigan. It's got everything from sand dunes to small mountains to the Upper Peninsula, which is snow-covered most of the year, and gorgeous when it's not, and gorgeous when it is, too. It has the Straits of Mackinac, with Mackinac Island out there. That's just a step back in time. What a wonderful place to be, where no motorized instrument is allowed on that island except horse-drawn carriages and bicycles and feet. And just a wonderful place. You have the auto industry, I guess you would say the birthplace of America coming together to fight wars and take auto plants and make them into
tanks
and everything else. And it is just a neat place to be, surrounded by water on 3 sides. My district, on the west side, I run into Lake Michigan. On the east side, I run into Lake Erie and Canada. And then surrounding the rest of it, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, that's cold all year round, provides 20% of the world's fresh water.
Are you a congressman or you run the tourism department?
I run the tourism bureau as well. Some of the greatest motorcycling roads you'd ever want to ride.
Yeah, you ride a Road King.
I ride a Road King, and I think you've ridden.
I've ridden a couple of Road Kings.
Road Kings yourself.
Yeah, I kind of miss those days. What is it? How did you get into motorcycling?
The Lord led me.
Yeah, right.
No, I got my love of horses from my mother, and I got my love of motorcycles from my dad and my uncle. And while my mother, though she was 5'3", she was mighty, and so until I was a sophomore in college at Moody Bible Institute, I didn't have the guts to play out my passion for motorcycles. And my brother had taken our car, which we bought together in 1957, Buick Special, and he took it off to a job out of state. So I was left with a bicycle. And I decided that's enough. I'm going to go buy a motorcycle. And ever since then, I've had a motorcycle. It was part of my prenuptial agreement with my wife that
you could have one.
I can never be without a motorcycle, and she's agreed to it. And we've had a wonderful time. It's become a ministry tool for me. I chair the...
How so? How?
Well, you go into some of those biker clubs.
Oh, yeah.
And you're a member of the Christian Motorcycle Association, and you're known to be a Christian, but you also love motorcycles, and you ride motorcycles. I've ridden around the world on motorcycles. I've done the Alps 3 years ago with my wife. We've ridden through the Rockies. We've done a number of the Smoky Mountain passes, including the Dragon.
And been to Sturgis?
I have been to Sturgis, but not with the motorcycle.
Yeah.
But it's become a tool where I've had the opportunity to minister to Hell's Angels, literally. And because of the motorcycle, it gives me an opportunity to speak that I wouldn't get otherwise. Being the chairman of the Congressional Motorcycle Caucus is pretty cool. If your listeners could see me, they'd want, this guy's a motorcyclist. But to chair that gives me other opportunities. So just things that you can use. I mean, your haberdashery business gives you situations you can talk to people about that most other people can't talk about. Being on the radio as many years as you were on, to talk about what it means to stand true for the truth in journalism. We use what we got.
Yeah. You also like to play the guitar, and you've brought your guitar. Do you have a name for your guitar, like Willie has for his?
No, I do not have a name for it.
We need to name her. I heard you play at the prayer breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and you're quite good. Would you play something for us?
Well, if you'll sing.
What are we going to? It depends on the song now.
Well,
is this going to be a spiritual or a honky tonk?
Well, let's do a mix.
All right.
I Saw the Light.
Okay. All right. Well,
was written almost an immediate effort in order to get a dinner for the band, and it went back to the writer's understanding of what Christianity was all about. And
really,
he'd walked away. He'd walked away from his faith and his grandmother's faith and his mother's faith, but he remembered enough of it. So I wandered so aimless, life filled with sin, I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Sing, I saw the light, I saw the light. No more in darkness, no more in night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
You know the words, I don't.
Yeah.
I need a cheat sheet.
Yeah,
How long have you been playing the guitar?
I've been playing since junior high, and you'd think I'd be better than this, but I found out it was much easier to carry around than a piano, and it's a ministry tool. So in our weekly prayer breakfast, a real good guitarist, Phil Rowe from Tennessee, led the band for the prayer breakfast. We meet in the spirit of Acts 2:42. We speak about the good things of Jesus. We break bread together. We pray, and we sing a song. And Phil Rowe was leading the band, and he found out I played, so he asked me to come in and join him. So that was fun. Then he retired, and all of a sudden I'm leading the band. So two of us, Cliff Benz from Oregon, and I are involved with that now. But
we had a great moment a couple of weeks ago. We were in the whip's office around, we have dinner every flying night, and you and I just started singing It Is Well With My Soul, and people kind of looked at us like we were, I don't know, freaks or whatever, but people were like, I love this song.
Yeah.
Can we sing a little bit of that? You got that? You
Let's
got
see.
that in your hip pocket?
I think it's key of C. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea. Let's move it up a bit.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Take two. Can we sing a little bit of It Is Well With My Soul?
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well
my soul. It is well, it is well
with my soul.
with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Tim, wow. Isn't that a peaceful song?
And it touched people's lives that night, I think.
It did.
Because it was an ugly night
It
around
was-
the table.
It was an ugly night. We have a few problems in our conference, but we're getting those worked out, aren't we?
I think so, and
With a little love.
with a little love and a little smiling, a little laughter, and a little caring. Yeah.
Tim, I love you, brother. Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
giving me a chance to speak with a pro.
Hey, thanks for joining us for Mark Alford's America. We'll talk again next week. Until then, remember, I believe in you. I believe our best days are still ahead of us. And yes, I believe